black guys like Asian women, though, break it down for us. Straight up, Asian women are family oriented. Doesn't mean that Asian women don't have bad attitudes. It doesn't mean that Asian women won't put their foot down when their husband or their boyfriend is being immature or irresponsible. But they will not prioritize themselves over their families, sacrificing the children, sacrificing the husband, sacrificing the relationship, and then making it the man's responsibility to entertain her whenever she decides to show up. Where if he doesn't entertain her, then she's going to leave him for another man. And that's the Western culture. The women in Asia are looking for the family commitment. So within a level of reason, they're willing to put in effort from their side to compromise and cooperate and participate so that between the two of them, it is successful. The majority of the divorced women in Asia are in their 40s, 35, 40 years old and older, because in their youth, 18 to 25, they got married, and they were married for 10 to 15 years, and it did not work, primarily because the man didn't do his part. And this is from a man's perspective, right? These are not bitter bitches that just did not get the luxury car that they were asking for. They're cooking, they're cleaning, and look, the women in Asia, they out there cooking food from scratch. They're killing the chicken. They're pulling the vegetables out the backyard. They're 8 hours worth of food prep so that you can have a 2 hour meal with your family. Like, they be putting in work. They ironically, Eastern women put so much work into the food prep that they're entitled to the 10% from the Bible, when the boys that was setting up the rituals for the communion and stuff, with the slaughtering of the lambs and the raising of the lambs and cleaning up the mess and cutting up the meat and selling it to the meat market and give the 10% to the church. You should be giving 10% to the Asian women, because I mean, damn, they be putting in work. And then that's not all they do. They you got some, especially the women in the Philippines, that they build stuff, they fixing on cars and everything to that effect. You're not getting that in Western culture. If you find a female mechanic, that's like wife material, just based on the merit that she'll work on the fucking car. She ain't got to do shit else. Our standards are low, real shit. Then like, you get one that's willing to help out around the house and not complain about it. That's wife material. She ain't got to do too much else. We can't ask for a non-combative environment in Western culture. We have to ask for the most minimalistic cooperation possible, and if we can get that, we'll take it. And that makes absolutely no sense. He said, get your paper, pencil, and write this down. What are you showing up there? Bid for assets. What is that? I'm not putting that up on the screen. What is that? Are you talking about for the estate sales? Well, anyway, most men of all races want to be valued and appreciated, and they want to be respected. Most men in all races who want to be fathers want to be in a relationship where they're actually capable of co-parenting with the wife, not just being the disciplinarian. They want to be involved in the child's life, not just be the person that's paying for everybody. And it doesn't matter if she has a job or not, because she can have a job, but the core focus is the family. The core focus, and the family is not just the kids. The family is not just the mom, and the family is not just the dad, but the family fucking includes the damn dad, right? And that's the issue that we have to he's talking about, that's a tax liens and tax deeds. Did bid for tax properties. That's pretty good place. But yeah, that's the reason why we would end up doing it. Now, because of the laws that are in Asia right now, all over Asia and in Korea, they're pushing for the childbirth laws, because they're underpopulated. They're having a population control scenario. So they're willing to pay for the children up to a reasonable amount of money over there, which covers half, if not all, of the child care up until they're 18, which takes away from the financial burden of raising children over there. So now, including their maternal leave that for both the husband and the wife for 12 months and additional maternal leave in other scenarios, that makes so much sense for the people who are capable of starting a new family. You can spend most of your time with the kids when they're in diapers, take turns, and not be burnt out, and then be able to go back to work. And when you go back to work, your position is still there. You're not getting that in America. You missed 2 weeks of work, they didn't replace you on a schedule, and they got to work you back in. You know what I mean? Your job is not waiting on you to come back. You know what I mean? And they're not doing maternity leave. They're giving you paid time off. So if you can afford to stay home for 12 months, then stay home. But if you can't afford to stay home for 12 months, you got to bring your ass back to work. Now, Quantum said, I wanted to earn just enough so that I can afford a mansion in Kenya and got to go back to where my ancestors from. I don't know about all that, bro. I mean, yeah, I'll get the mansion in Kenya because that's like $250,000. That's not a lot of money when you start talking about going to Kenya. Stuff's not nearly as expensive in America. The real estate over there, if you get a $500,000 or $750,000 property in places like Kenya, you're likely to get residency like off the top just because you put into that type of real estate investment and you hold on to it for a reasonable period of time, and then you can even either sell it or rent it out or buy another one. So that just that mentality of saying, man, I'm an American, I'm going to build up enough money so that I can go back to my home country. You know what I mean? But then the problem is that you still have to recognize is that that's still more Western culture. So the African American women in Kenya are going to be talking to you the way the American women are talking to you in the United States. They're not going to show you that level of decorum that you're going to get from Asian women, and that's one of the reasons why most men go to Asia. Not just the black men, most men go to Asia, but the black men like Asian women, and racial bias is in Asia just as good as it is in America. So it's racial biases all over the world. But I mean, you just got to understand it. When you go over there, they're gonna be looking at you because you're not from around them parts, and they know that you're not from around them parts because your tan is too savvy. It won't come off no matter how much I rub it. Like I said, my problem, the neighbor probably just got sold at the tax lien for $40,000, 15 acres. Okay. Per the paper, but he paid $120,000 4 years ago for it. Oh, here goes Simp just talking about, oh, look, y'all. He gonna say real alpha men don't go to another country. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Let me get down to that comment real quick before we start talking about this new country. Cause he said if I bought it, I would have made $70,000 in 2 years. Damn right. Who don't like Asian women? Exactly. I can't think of anybody who's like Asian women. Nah. What do you mean? That's every man's porno flick. That's every man's. He said the Jordans is finna out me. As soon as I bought it, it would be on the market. Damn right. Well, no, I wasn't talking about the passport bros, but since you're talking about the passport bros, I'm about to get in there. I'm about to get in there and start talking about that real quick because we was actually about to start talking about Tajikistan, a different country that you can move to invest in and everything like that. You say that real alpha men don't go to another country. Now, this is Brianna Molnar. So Brianna, ma'am, and I figured that it would have been a female that would come up and say something like that. And this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, but I come from a universal position. And I just want to tell you real quick, ma'am, men are not weak or broke or not an alpha man specifically because they want to be respected, appreciated, and valued by their women. A man will go to wherever he's got to go to find the type of woman that will treat him the way he wants to be treated. And the fact is that hands down, while you assume that all numbers taken out of the factor that it's a cheaper country to be in, so he's broke, so he's going to go to that cheaper country and go get this woman that's supposed to be so stupid that he can manipulate her into doing something that she wants to do. That's not the case. The fact of the matter is that it takes as much as $2,000 just to get there. It takes another $2,000 to $5,000 a month to stay there. Then you still got to pay for your standard of living in America if you're coming back. And if your standard of living is between $5,000 and $10,000, you're spending almost $12,000 out the gate. Then you're thinking about how if you're bringing this woman back with you, the quantity of money it costs for you to get there is twice as much to come back, plus the $2,500 you got to pay to get her citizenship started. When you get her here, you're signing a contract with the United States government that says that you're going to pay this woman's $20,000 a year debt to the U.S. government to be in this country until she gets her citizenship or until she goes back to her country. That's a whole big look. American women, that is not a requirement. That is not a requirement. So I just bow myself to a 15-year, $20,000 a year debt. And it took me almost $25,000 to get that debt started. Then we're hopefully going to be putting in 15, 20 years into a marriage, and hopefully that marriage works out. And if it doesn't work out, because this woman is an American citizen, she can divorce me and take half of my estate. I'm still legally required to pay the $20,000 a year to the woman and whatever the judge says about alimony and child support. And as long as she stays in this country until she gets citizenship, I'm stuck with that. What alpha male is going to say, oh, you know what I mean? But then you got to think about this. The women in these other countries, they got at least 1 degree, if not more. They speak 5 to 10 languages, and English is one of those languages. And they put in more effort to be not only financially successful in their personal lives, but also family oriented on top of that. So these women are capable of working that second shift. They're capable of making $100,000 a year and then coming back and taking care of their man at the same time, which is what Western women don't have the physical capabilities of. A smart man would go to a different country to find a woman that is willing to provide for her man the way he's expected to provide for her, so that her man doesn't go undone. But a simp, as you might call it, would be the kind of man that would sit here and be used for his money, never respected, never appreciated, never valued, talked down to by his woman, and then just because he might get sex some of the time when she's not cheating on him with somebody else, that is a good relationship as long as she's happy, because happy wife, happy life. But the guy is never happy. He's content that we're not fighting no more, but nothing that he wanted out of this relationship is he getting. But he's paying for everything that she expects to get. That is not a healthy relationship. Because if we flip the script, ladies, if we flip the script, and a woman was paying for everything that a man needed, giving the man everything that he wanted, and getting nothing that she was expecting to get out of the relationship, most of us would say, what the fuck are you doing in that relationship still? So logic dictates that you're supposed to treat your partner the way you want your partner to be treated. And if a man can't find that in the United States, he's got to grab his passport and go somewhere else and go find that. But that takes a higher value man to afford to find the right person in another country, no matter how much it costs, instead of staying in a country to save money and be mistreated. So that's why I wanted to address that real quick before we got into this Kazakhstan. He said my hands are up for age women. I agree. Stay in America. I disagree. You go wherever you got to go in order to find happiness. Alphas don't go looking for a woman in another country. Only passport bros. Passport bros are alpha men. This my girl's account. I'm on live. Well, this is your girl's account. So you're jumping in from, instead of jumping in on your account, so that puts you in a trolling perspective, and that still implies that you're pretending like you're a dude pretending to be a chick on the chick's profile. I'm going to tell you real talk, don't matter whether you're male or female. The average highly educated man is not going to stay in an environment where he is not valued and then try to submit to the abusive behavior of his environment in order to exist. That's the reason why if you don't like the neighborhood that you live in, you move out of it. First and foremost, if you don't like the dating pool that you're trying to date in, you move out of it. You go to a different dating pool. If you can't find what you're looking for in your block, you go to another block. If you can't find what you're looking for in your city, you go to another city. If you can't find what you're looking for in America, you leave America. That's not because, an alpha man is going to beat the girl up and make her cooperate. No, we have women's rights, right? The women have a right to be disrespectful and defiant, and they have a right to do whatever they want to do, including devalue your man. But a man has a right to be happy, and a man's right to be happy, it requires a man to go find happiness wherever happiness lies, even if that means in another country. So with and then Michael says, oh, there's plenty of women in America. Right. There's plenty of women in America with more than half of them still single, if not completely divorced. So, the fact is that the reason why so many men are leaving America is because there's a trend. The reason why the dating field is so volatile is because there's a trend. And the trend is not the actions and behavior of the men. It is the men's realization that we're tired of this bullshit. We're tired of being treated this way. And men are retreating from the dating field, not because they're not alphas, because they don't want to be mistreated. Men are giving up on these females that are not worth dating, they're not worth marrying, not because the men can't afford it, because they don't want to waste their money on it. The men that are financially knowledgeable and emotionally intelligent recognize that this is unhealthy and they deserve better. So they're going to go find better. And if it turns out that you're in South Korea or the Philippines or Vietnam or Indonesia somewhere, and you find the right person, get that. You got to understand. Especially if black men are walking away from the black women and going finding women somewhere else, it ain't because the men ain't shit. If between the two of y'all, the person that's unhappy got up and walked away. Let's put it like this, ladies. Y'all claim that y'all leave y'all men 70 to 90% of the time because y'all are unhappy, right? Now, not going to devalue that at all. Flip the script. If all the men is leaving y'all and going to another country because they're unhappy, what's wrong with that? He said invest in American women. No, the American women need to invest in the American men. They need to put in the effort to support and validate and contribute to the relationships that they value. Because if not, she's not supposed to be skating on the coattails of a successful man. She's supposed to be putting in effort to aid that man in being more successful. If that's not what she's here for, then she's just using you for your stuff. And if she's using you for your stuff, that makes you the simp because you're paying for her presence. You renting a hoe. That's what you're doing in that situation. That's not a relationship. She sleep with you, she gets money, she treats you like shit until you get paid, then she sleep with you again and you give her money. Bro, you could have saved so much money and a lot of headache in between them scenarios just by renting the girl off a back page. You know, and if you stoop down to that level, why don't you just go get you a girl from the Philippines? So you get 30 days for $750. In America, for 30 minutes, you get that for the same price. You got to think about it. Real men find abusive relationships in America. They don't just find love here in America. If you don't go chasing other countries, then you will not find satisfaction. You have a large quantity of men over the age of 40 that are single for the sake of being single because they don't want the headache. Not because they don't want the happiness, because they don't want the headache. Exactly, Michael. What's half or nothing? If you do go looking for women in other countries, you down bad. If you go looking for women in other countries, you are limitless to your options because you have, out of 8 billion people in the world, roughly an estimated approach of about 4 billion women to choose from. If you limit yourself to the United States, it's about 385 Americans, about 165,000 of them are women. And out of those women, about 25% of them are roughly married, and then some of them are divorced, and the rest of them are thoughts. And out of the thoughts that stay in the dating field, you're going to be dealing with a large quantity of bad relationships. Now, hookup culture, oh yeah, you can find somebody to fuck on a regular basis in the United States, but you find a woman that's worth it, that's hard to find. That's hard to find. They're a rare breed. A woman that's worth it is hard to find. Because the women that are worth it are more often than not taken or recently widowed because they stayed with the man until he died. This is not the words of an alpha. He says alphas don't go looking for love. No, alphas do go looking for love. Alphas don't settle for abuse. Alphas stand on non-negotiable expectations for behavior. Alphas put their foot down. And exactly, it sounds like a terrible relationship. He says, see, y'all hear this talk about looking for love. Exactly. Because unless you're going to sit there in a scenario where you're going to allow yourself to be mistreated just so that you can be in a relationship, you are going to go somewhere else. Now, yeah, you can play the passive aggressive approach and you can just sit there and wait for a woman to show up and give you her time. You can do that. Or you can fly to another country and wait for a woman to show up and give you her time. But sitting here in America and trying to marinate in America like America is gonna be so great that the women are so great. America, on the statistics of greatness, America is like 130 something of every category, so including social interaction. So when you try to make it seem like, oh yeah, the women in America are fine, but they got piss poor attitudes. You feel me? And it is what it is. He gonna say that a passport. Now you're calling a passport, bro, a simp, probably because you can't afford a passport and you can't afford to fly to another country and find you another woman. Because again, when I laid out the dynamic, fact of the matter is that in order for you to be able to afford to pull off going to another country and finding you another woman, you're probably spending about $20,000 to $25,000 to go get you a woman. That's gonna stay with you and not cause you shit. Whereas in America, you're probably gonna spend $20,000 to $25,000 hooking up with women and never finding a woman to settle down with. So I mean, who's the simp? The guy that's spending $600 to $1,000 a month on dating chicks that never commit, where you're spending $24,000 a year on dating chicks that never commit, or $20,000 on a woman that'll stay with you for 25 years. Who's the simp? I think that the guys that are paying for female entertainment, where the women can just uh, 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 enjoy your company at your financial expense, but you never have a committed relationship. I think those are the simps. If you're willing to make it rain on the weekends just so that the girls can sit around you until you pay for their bar tab, and then when you leave, you still going home alone, you still ain't got nobody there with you. I think that's the simps. Is that it? I didn't need to go looking for love in another country. No, because she is taking your money out of your paycheck. That's why you don't got to go nowhere. You renting one right now. With these all caps, Michael, whenever you ready, your finger's ready. My finger's ready too. You know what I mean? Real men, keep it up. Keep it a buck. You sitting over here saying that this is the kind of people that just waste money on folks. You still live in the US, you don't leave the US. No, you can't afford to leave the US. The rest of us are building up wealth, and the rest of us are going to go to another country and we're going to live that life. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, while you can at explicitly have the best relationship in any country around the world, the idea is that you want to be treated a certain way and you're not going to bow to disrespect. Because one of the things that causes a bad relationship is disrespecting the man. Doesn't mean that the woman doesn't deserve respect too, but the fact is that the men are the ones that are unhappy in the relationships when the women leave. Women and men are unhappy when the women leave, and when the men leave, the men are unhappy. So 25% of the time the women are happy, but never are the men happy in a breakup. Tell me a breakup where you were satisfied, you were happy, you got everything you wanted out of a relationship, and she left anyway. No man can give us a story about that. He said you go looking for desperate third world country women, women that have their own degrees, their own jobs, sometimes their own businesses, they doing their own thing, they big time in their country, and those are the women that will drop it all and go somewhere with you and start up a family with you, and you're gonna say that either the guy or the girl is desperate in a third world country, and it's only considered a third world country because America is allegedly considered the first world country. But if you really think about history, America was not the first world. Britain was the first world. America was where all the rejects were sent when they were kicked out of the country of Great Britain. So we're not technically the first world. We're technically the second one. And technically, since we established after all the other countries, we're technically like the eighth or 10th because China existed long before America did. And the development of Asia is far surpassed the development of the United States, which is the reason why they can cure diseases that we're still paying for symptoms on. It's not the same. It's not the same. But I appreciate your narrow-mindedness. So the Constitution states that you have the right to pursue happiness, but you are not guaranteed happiness. Right. The Constitution states that you're going to, and pursuing happiness is what alpha men have been doing under the Constitution for since the beginning of the country's development. That's why this guy is not making any sense. He said, well, I make over 300 a year. You're down bad. Well, if you made 300 a year, you wouldn't be talking in all caps because you would not have to talk over the rest of the people that are using small caps and complete sentences. And then for you to be making 300,000 a year with the broken English that you're using in the comment section, it probably is drug money. But that doesn't necessarily make you a higher value man. It just makes you the kind of individual that can't get on here with his. An alpha man would have logged in with his own account, not hiding behind his woman's profile so that he could say what he had to say in real time. When we start talking about alpha men, because everybody else here is a real man. Everybody, you were here on a female's profile talking trash. Out of 80 billion people, you're telling me you can't find happiness. I don't know. I like guys more women for me. That's what I'm talking about, Mike. That's what I'm talking about. How you doing, Dylan? Good to see you, man. This guy over here going ham. I don't think he know how to turn his caps button off on his phone. He over here trolling with his girlfriend's account so that we don't know who he really is, but he claiming he an alpha man. Alpha men don't identify themselves as alpha men. Alpha men just get the job done. Sigma men don't have to beat people up to get what they want. They negotiate with people and make sure that they get what they need, and everything else don't matter. You know what intimidates an alpha man more than anything? A sigma man. You know what intimidates a sigma man? Nothing. I wonder, is it better for you as an alpha man to talk in all caps in the comment section this entire 38 minutes to try to make absolutely no point? Or did it make more sense for Michael and Quantum to make more sense with lower caps in the comment section? He said, yeah, love comes to me. No, truth be told, men don't choose the women per se, but men have to parade themselves in front of the women to be chosen by the women. Men don't just exist and have women come to them. Rich men who have a bunch of resources, the women see the money and the women come flocking over because you're in an expensive car, or she's seen you walking out of an expensive house and she wants to ride in that expensive car. She wants to live in that expensive house. So she's going to come and parade herself around you. If you, rich people dress poor. So if you was looking like Eminem fresh out of rehab with sweatpants on and a wife beater on with your hair all messed up, wearing socks and sandals, and you walk through the streets, women wouldn't talk to you. But if they seen you get out of a Lambo before you started walking down that street, they'd be following you down the street trying to carry your shit. They don't want your love, they want your money. They just got more manners. Okay, so you're gonna say that the women in Asia have the same mentality as women in America, but they have more manners. And I respect that dynamic. I'm gonna put that back up there. He said that so the women in Asia don't want the men, they just want the men's money. They just got more manners. Now, I want that to sit up there while I tell you this. The men are going to Asia to looking for women that got more fucking manners. So if the women know that they have competition in America because the women in Asia are inherently overall cheaper and with more well-behaved manners and modesty, why are the American women not carrying themselves with manners and modesty? Why are they disrespectful to themselves and disrespectful to their society? If you're going to compete, you have to be better than your competitor. So why is your competitor more cooperative and more affordable, but you're still going to consider yourself the best? Why do you think Jag lost its reputation? Transmission lasts 5,000 miles. A Toyota can go forever. Toyota's cheaper than Jag. Why am I wasting money on something expensive when I can find something cheaper that'll last longer? Relationships apply to the same dynamic. He can always take the bus. He could. I know you only 25. You don't know no better. You done found this chick at a strip club somewhere and you sitting over here enjoying life because you paying for it with your 300,000 a year. And this chick is not gonna be there for you when you stop making 300,000 a year. When you stop spending money on this chick gonna walk away from you. But truth be told, though, you ain't logged in from your man profile so that we can see who you is. You logged in from a woman's profile, and that's not what a man does. A man stands on his own name, and a man stands on his own opinions, and a man stands by any means necessary on the things that he believes is right. And then he accepts the consequences of those decisions. So why anonymity are you up here behind the profile of a female still talking on the channel? You should have logged off and logged back in as a dude. Be a man about it. Be an alpha. Aggressive, be a young waste of time. Yeah, well, I had to go in on him for a minute. Then we got to get to today's show because I was waiting on you to show up anyway, Dylan, because I wanted to touch base on a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today. Nah, I had to get him, y'all. I had to get him. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get the thing up. Michael, whenever you ready, you can go ahead and take care of him. Now I'm done with him. Now I just said what I had to say about it. um. So we here now. We're gonna start talking about today's show because I was really waiting on Dylan to come in because I know I typically start the show a tad bit late. So we still got an hour and a half worth of getting it done, y'all. So don't worry about it. Uh, we're gonna start off by forgetting that Silicon Valley on Wall Street, right? And the next gold rush isn't about a code or a stock because we just finished covering those. It's happening in the mountains of Tajikistan. So one of Asia's poorest countries, right? And this is why dude was talking what he was talking. That's why I entertained the conversation because it's out there. They're making a multi-billion-dollar bet on an overlooked source of green energy that could power the future. Yeah, that was a dude. That was a dude that jumped in on his girlfriend's profile so that he could talk cash on the show. I was waiting on you to push the button. You said your finger was itching and you ain't never hit the button. You the moderator. As soon as everybody else got tired of it in the comment section, you should have blocked him. I gave him a timeout. So if he popped back up, he popped back up. I'm not gonna spend 2 hours arguing with the dude, but he made some concerns that I just had to talk about some stuff because I have not pointed those points out in almost a year. And I'm like, yeah, I gotta rip for a minute before I get onto the main points. Now, this isn't just about electricity, it's about turning water into a new kind of gold over here in Tajikistan, right? So today we're going inside the high stakes mega projects reshaping Central Asia, and we'll be exploring the world's tallest dam, a beast of concrete and ambition designed to solve a nationwide energy crisis. And this is something that Donald Trump was talking about doing before with the wall that we have, which isn't really a wall. It's like a large quantity of steel beams that are 30 feet tall with a picket fence. Well, it's like a wire mesh fence at the top with barbed wire above that. But he was talking about putting solar panels on it, which if he did, it would have fueled the entire south side of the United States with solar power. So that was a fantastic idea, but they never followed through with it. I don't know if they're ever going to follow through with it, but if they do, it's going to be long after the wall has been fully built, which might be another 10 years. Now we're going to uncover the geopolitical gamble to sell that power to energy starved neighbors, and we're going to reveal the ultimate prize because we have a plan to use all the electricity to create green hydrogen, which is something that is new to the market for the fuel of tomorrow. Now, green hydrogen is going to potentially lead us back to hydrogen cars because back in the 90s, there was a thing about hydrogen cars and then they stopped doing it. And I don't know why. And there was one guy who made a hydrogen car and then he got scooped up by the feds. I don't know why, but eventually they gave him back his hydrogen car. He got a car that runs straight up on water. Like, no shit. It's crazy. That's like the cheapest car to have. Because you could ride around with like 10 gallons of water in the back of your car and you ain't got to worry about your car blowing up. Now, this is going to be a story about staggering risks, incredible engineering, and a calculated bet that is landlocked in this nation that holds the key to a green energy revolution. But it is a path to prosperity or cautionary tales. So I want you guys, Quantum, if you're still here, make sure that you guys stick around as we break down the green energy gold rush hitting in the heart of Asia. So what about Plastolian? Well, Donald Trump already said that he's going to go for plastic. Plastic gasoline. Now, This is the first time I'm hearing about plastic gasoline, so I'm going to have to do some research on that. When I think about plastic, I think that it is going to either melt, or once it's heated, it's going to stick to stuff and have a very large issue with cleaning. But I'm more than sure that that is somewhere along the lines of the what do they call that, synthetic oil. So if it's closer to like a synthetic fuel where it takes longer to burn, and it is able to produce more energy for less fuel, then it might even be charged at a higher price, but it'll still be more affordable than the regular fossil fuels that we utilize today. So that's actually a pretty good idea. But what cars can run on plastic gasoline right now? Do you know about that, Dylan? Can the average vehicle do that, or does it have to be a specifically unique vehicle that um, is usable with plastic gasoline? You say a guy out in Atlanta puts in plastic bottles and comes out of uh, machine gasoline. Fuck, how does he make that? That's new. He made a new fuel. He better get a patent on that shit. Whoever that guy was that made that new fuel, he better get a patent on that shit. He has a whole YouTube channel and made it all plastic. It works in all cars, including diesel and jet engines. What? I don't know. Okay, in order for me to try that, I would have to get me a Honda Civic, because Honda Civics ain't shit. And then I will put gas in that, take it to the track and race it. And if the car don't die on me, then I might use it in all my vehicles. It's easy to do. Splint water into hydrogen and oxygen. Well, yeah, that's true, but it's also volatile when you start splinting water. When you start subjugating chemicals, you start dealing with chemical reactions, and a lot of times those chemical reactions isn't all that good, especially when you start talking about hydrogen atoms, because hydrogen atoms is where we got the atom bomb from. So you just got to recognize that too much of too many, you can get too much of something. Not good for many. Now, to get why Tajikistan is making this colossal gamble, you have to get uh, Tajikistan itself, right? And this is a land of breathtaking, almost violent beauty. 93% of the country is mountains. 93% of it is mountains. And it's going to be a massive crumple zone created by the collision of the Indian and uh, Eurasian tectonic plates. So the Pamir Mountains, the roof of the world, slice across the landscape, and their peaks feeds thousands of glaciers and creating the headwater for the region's most powerful rivers. Okay. And this is going to be Central Asia's water tower, a very vast frozen reservoir of potential energy. He said it's called plastoline. We're gonna check and see what plastoline is. I'm gonna have to matter of fact, let me dip into plastoline real quick. What PLASTIOLINE, plastoline. That man looked like Booker T. No, the Truth. He looked like R-Truth from WWE. Look, brothers be making stuff now. Plastoline is the name Brown gave to the hydrocarbon mixture distilled from melted and vaporized plastic, which he then condensed into a gasoline-like fuel. It's been marked as a high octane, around 110, alternative that can run combustion engines, and has been shown in public demos powering vehicles such as a classic truck and a Dodge Scat Pack. The process behind it is not new. In the form of plastic pyrolysis, where mixing plastic waste is heated in low or no oxygen, so it breaks down into gases, oils, wax, and char. Brown's setup uses a reactor to melt unsorted plastics for several hours and then distills it in resulting crude into different liquid fractions, and he labels as different types of plastiline. So how much is this going to cost? If you encounter plastiline, treat it as an unregulated experimental fuel and avoid making or burning it without appropriate ventilation, protective equipment, and emissions controls. And do not use it in on-road vehicles where fuel quality and emissions are legally regulated, as a safer environmental choice in most contexts is to reduce plastic use. So support established recycling or chemical recycling programs, or shift to electric transport rather than relying on backyard plastic to fuel conversions. What? Fuck them. I'll be going for the plastic conversion. I'll be like, nah, brother made it. I'll how much he's selling it for? I'll buy that shit, put it in my car. That damn right, he a real scientist. That he knew what the hell he was doing. He'd have made some shit. He'd have made himself famous. Shit, how much does it cost? I'll buy it by the gallon. I got Florida plates. We don't have emission laws. 110 octane is far better than 87 octane. You see that disclaimer? Don't buy it from the brother. Buy it from the white man. They full of shit. I wish Quantum was still here. Quantum, you can tell me what you know about this plastoline, bro. Because I'm really wanting to see like how much does this shit come. But we're gonna get back to wait, give me just a second. I just want to find out, because you know when I find something interesting, how much is it sold for? I'm gonna find out, bro. You see if it's on the regular market. You know what I mean? This is how we do research. We find something interesting and then we go looking for it. Now they say now based on the public forums, based on public knowledge, plastiline is not sold as a regular commercial fuel. So there's no stable retail price or official place to buy it right now. But allegedly you have hydration fuel sold at $12.54 a bottle. And then yeah, that's about all they got going on with that one. That's good. I'm guessing that's something that's gonna start becoming a thing down the line. They should recycle rubbers and call them rubberline. Well, the problem with recycling rubbers is that when you melt them down, the rubber itself is gonna turn into a little bitty thing, and you would have to melt down a lot of them in order to produce enough fuel to fill a gas tank, which means that we would have to use a lot more of them. And we have to recognize one of the reasons why I entertained that debate at the beginning of the show was that women control the dating market with their behavior patterns. They choose which men that they sleep with. They choose which men that they allow to pay for them. They choose which men that they allow to provide them with resources. And that type of control has a level of responsibility that they're not willing to take. But the fact is that since women control that aspect of the dating field, women would have to put more work. So OnlyFans girls would probably be a perfect source for rubberline. But the average woman is probably not going to be that scenario. Now back to Tajikistan. Even though they have a large quantity of all natural wealth, this is one of the poorest countries in the Soviet Union to emerge as of recently. And their journey since 1991, which is what, 75 years ago almost, has been pretty brutal. The USSR collapse was immediately followed by a devastating 5-year civil war that tore the nation apart. It killed tens of thousands of individuals and left the economy in ruins. So those scars run deep in that country. And today, the economic reality on the ground is a world away from the majesty of the mountains that they have. So the cost of living is one of the lowest in the world, not because of efficiency, but because of low wages. So for a huge part of the population, survival hangs on a single precious lifeline: remittance. Hundreds of thousands of Tajakis, mostly young men, work abroad in Russia, sending money home to their families. And these payments are so huge that they've at times accounted for nearly half of the country's GDP. And this is the central paradox of Tajikistan. So, a nation overflowing with power, with rivers that continue to light up a continent, yet totally dependent on wages earned thousands of miles away. It's a country whose greatest natural resource flows mostly untapped through its valleys, while its biggest economic asset flows in through wire transfers. And this is a gap between potential and reality that has fueled a national desperation for a game changer. He said, I think rubber is a plant. Really? I didn't think rubber was a plant. Because I actually thought that rubber was man-made. Is there a plant named rubber? We got to find out. Is there a plant named rubber? We all off topic for a minute. That's not what I asked. Oh. Look, I got the answer to my question by accident because I'm trying to find out about plants making rubber. This guy's charging $4 to $6 per gallon uh, at Nature Jab. But there's no real market for it. There are no pyrolysis plants that convert waste to rubber. That's not what I asked. I asked, is there a plant? That's what I was sitting over here trying to find out. Is there a plant that is like rubber? There is a plant that is known as the rubber tree or rubber plant that produces natural rubber. The most commercially imported species is Havana's bristlenus, commonly called the para rubber tree, which is native to the Amazon basin, not the store Amazon, because that would be the shit that this was sold on Amazon, but now grown wildly in tropical regions, especially in Southeast Asia. And this tree produces latex and milky fluid that is the primary source of natural rubbers used globally in over 50,000 products, which means that when we start going into different countries to find places to invest in, this is some of the shit that we find out is that we could actually go to a different country, find a plant like this that grows naturally, buy the land that the plant is on, and then start industrializing rubber. We could partner with Trojan, make billions of dollars. No, that's not the plant. You might have a plant, but that's not the plant. This is the plant right here. Well, this is the plant that I found. So I'm not saying you are not necessarily wrong, but that's not the plant that I am referring to. Where is I just seen it? Uh, it is called the Parana rubber tree, and you can look this up in Southeast Asia, which means that there's more than one plant that exists to potentially, because you're saying Ruberos plantus. Somebody got creative when they called it that. And then there's this name here for the same plant. Let me give you that. But there are alternative rubber producing plants under study, and they have a Kazaka Danali as a high quality rubber plant as well. So that's third, because you found one and I found two. That's 3 plants that produce rubber. So, ladies, y'all ain't got no reason to be getting abortions because y'all could be growing rubber in your backyard and just industrializing it so that you don't have to throw it back with a concern. There's a Ficus electus. There's another. Here goes another plant. I'm saying this wrong. A ficus plant that produces rubber. And here goes one more that hypoallergenic rubber plant, right? Yeah, I got a shit ton of rubber. you should have 100 acres of Trojans in your backyard. Like, what do you do for a living? Grow condoms. How do you do that? You got to go talk to Bubba. Look now. Even I learned something new when I come to the show. For decades, the government in Tajikistan, the government of Dushanbe, has looked at the roaring rivers and dreamed of turning that water into wealth. And that dream is now being forged into concrete and steel on a scale that almost anyone else will be nearly impossible to compare with. And they're going to do this to wrap around the entire mountain area. So for you to get a grasp of this, the government's development strategy is centered on one goal above all others, and that's going to be the energy independence. And this isn't just an economic policy, it's a declaration of sovereignty. So the plan is to transform the country from a net importer of energy, shivering through the dark winters, into a regional powerhouse. And they are betting the nation's future on the idea that in the 21st century, water is more valuable than oil, and the power locked in their mountains is the ultimate currency. And that bet is starting to attract serious attention, with foreign investment being a beginning to pour in. So some investors are hearing that this is going on, and they're actually getting in on the ground floor, which is going to make them very wealthy. So to really grasp why Tajikistan is willing to risk everything on one massive project, you have to feel the cold of the Tajiki winter. Now, let me go ahead and tell you, I'm going to put this name in the comment section so that you guys can go and look at this country. Y'all going to be like, damn, I didn't even know this place existed. It's almost like Oman, right? Now, for a country sitting on the 8th largest hydro-powered potential in the world, the irony is just cruel to think about. During the harsh winter months, when rivers freeze and water flows drop, the nation plunges into an energy crisis. It's a seasonal predictability and a life-altering reality that affects about 70% of their population. So imagine a town or a village where electricity is rationed to just a few hours a day. Homes go cold, kids do homework by candlelight, no calculators, businesses shut down, the podcasts go off the air because we ain't got no power. You know what I mean? Local economies just grind to a halt. Hospitals have to rely on backup generators just to keep the lights on. This isn't an ancient history. It's an annual ordeal that paralyzes the nation every single year. So the collapse is an issue that they're going to be working on. The capital, Dushanbe, is mostly spared the worst of it, but for the rest of the country, darkness is upon us. And the cold are facts. of life that they're just used to. And this crisis is a ghost of the sovereign union. Under the old centralized system, Tajikistan was part of a unified Central Asian power grid. In that summer, when melting glaciers filled its rivers, Tajikistan would export huge amounts of cheap hydropower to its downstream neighbors like Uzbekistan, which I think I've covered once before, and Turkmenistan, which I haven't covered yet. And in return, during the winter, those same neighbors, rich in natural gas, would send electricity and fuel back to Tajikistan, balancing out the system. And it was a network of forced codependency, all managed from Moscow, which we haven't covered yet. When the Sovereign Union fell apart in 1991, that system shattered, and suddenly the newly independent countries were suspicious of each other and disconnected their grids. So for Tajikistan, the effect was catastrophic. It was left with a massive summer power surplus that it couldn't sell to anybody, and crippling winters of deficient electric supplies where no one would fill the gap. The country was, in energy terms, stranded. Now, this energy poverty is the anchor holding Tajikistan back, and you can't build a modern economy if you can't guarantee the power will stay on. So you can't attract factories, but data centers, or even beyond building a data center, a modern farm without a stable electric source of year-round supply. So the government, knowing this, is solving the problem in one step. This is why for years they've been chasing a solution so immense, so expensive, and so controversial that it's been called both a national salvation and a potential catastrophe, because they decided the only way out of the darkness was to build their own batteries. Batteries made of water, held back by a wall of rock and clay so enormous that it would be the tallest of its kind on Earth, potentially bigger than the Great Wall of China. So the answer to Tajikistan's darkness has a name. It's called Rogan. Not Rogaine, Rogan. Hydropower plants is more than just a mega project. It's the centerpiece of Tajikistan's national identity and its economic survival. So in this story is going to be a saga of Soviet ambition and post-Soviet collapse, and a desperate modern day resurrection. So the idea that was born back in 1976, where the solving engineers found the perfect spot on a powerful Vagash River for a dam of unprecedented scale, led to construction beginning, but it was slow. Then in 91, the Soviet Union dissolved, and 2 years later, a massive flood destroyed the half-built dam, which prevented everybody from being successful with that. Oh, spelled wrong again. You would think Joe Rogan, right? But it is Rogan. Rogan. Not Reagan, Row Gun. Here you go, right there for your Row Gun. Now, after that flood happened, the project was abandoned for a while, and a concrete ghost in a country now engulfed by civil war is all they had left. Now, for years, it was just a ruins that people would pass by as a dream, a memory that nobody thought about, but the dream never died. In the 2000s, the newly stable government led by President Imamo Rahamo, hopefully said that right. If not Imamo, you can jump onto the show and tell me how to say your name better. Imamo Rahman declared finishing Rogan That sounded like they're gonna take out Joe Rogan. No, that's not gonna happen. Somebody's gonna soundbite that portion of the show. He declared to finish the Rogan Dam and uh, rebuild this sacred national duty. Now, to raise money, they even launched a political campaign urging ordinary citizens to buy shares in the dam. Teachers, doctors, and farmers uh, scrapped together their savings to own a piece of it. Now, this is where you could become financially successful, because today that dream is rising from a valley floor to the Italian construction giants that we build is building, where they're creating a structure of almost mythical proportion, which means that you can go out there and get you several 100,000 shares of this dam. The finished product will continuously produce dividends to its shareholders. Now, when we finish the dam, the Rogan Dam will be a clay core rock filled dam standing 335 meters tall, and the tallest dam of any kind in the world that has ever been built, that we can find at least. And it's gonna have a reservoir that is designed to hold over 13 cubic kilometers of water, and inside is going to be 6 powerful turbines, each with a 600 megawatt capacity, which will give the plant a staggering total capacity of 3,600 megawatts, which apparently is a lot. That's double Tajikistan's current generating capacity, where they had a surplus before this. They're really going to have a surplus now. This is equal to 3 large nuclear power plants, enough to finally end the winter energy crisis and turn the country into a major power export. Now, the only thing is, as big as the dam is going to be the price to make it. The latest estimate to put the total cost of completion at around $6.4 billion. Now, for a country whose entire GDP is only around $14 billion, that is an astronomical sum. Because on that $14 billion GDP, they're pretty much operating towards the top. Now, Tajikistan is pouring its own budget into the project, but it's leaning heavily on international partners. So the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, has committed $500 million to it. And a consortium, including the World Bank and the Islamic Development Bank, have also pledged significant funds. And construction is a relentless 24/7 operation. And the first 2 turbines launched in 2018 and 2019 are already on the grid out of 6. So that lets you know exactly how far they've come. And they have generated over 7.5 billion kilowatts per hour of electricity to date, with just 2 out of 6. That's 1/3 of the project. But the main event is raising the dam to its final height of 335,000 meters, which means moving and compacting tens of millions of cubic meters of rock and clay in an active earthquake zone. That's where things get complicated. It's a brutal, high-risk engineering challenge. But for Tajikistan, it's the only path forward. So Rogan is designed to be the nation's battery, storing the immense water flows of summer to generate power through the freezing winters. And finally, that's going to be bringing the lights to the people round the clock all year. Now, building the world's tallest dam is one thing. Making it profitable is another. So while solving the winter energy crisis in Rogan's main job, its huge 3,600 megawatt capacity is far more than Tajikistan needs, especially in the summer. For the multi-billion-dollar investment to pay off, Tajikistan has to sell that extra energy. And the problem was there was no way to get the electricity to paying customers. This is where we enter CASA's 1000. The Central Asia South Asian Power Project is the second key to this piece of puzzle, another place that you can invest. It's basically a massive $1.2 billion electrical highway designed to link the energy-rich mountains of Central Asia with the power-hungry cities of South Asia. The concept is brilliant. In the summer, Tajikistan and neighboring, what is that, Kyrgyzstan, all of these stands, they need to do something. Change a couple of these stands to a Kenny. Um, Kyrgyzstan are flush with cheap hydropower from melting glaciers. At the same time, in Pakistan and Afghanistan, scorching heat sends demand for power through the roof, causing widespread blackouts. Now, CASA 1000 bridges that gap where the project is nearly 1,400 kilometers of high voltage transmission lines snaking from Tajikistan to Kyrgyzstan, across the mountains of Afghanistan, and down to the major hub of Pakistan. Once it's up and running, it will be able to transmit 1,300 megawatts of clean energy and lifeline for millions of people and businesses in the south of Asia, which again is a third business opportunity, because investing in the building of the dam and investing in the CAA or CSA 1000, and then investing in the construction of the pipeline of electricity. Now, for years, CASA 1000 was just a line on the map, bogged down by instability and Afghanistan financing hurdles. They had a lot of hurdles, but now it's finally happening. So the northern section connecting Tajikistan to Kyrgyzstan are completed. Construction in Pakistan is nearing its finish line, and they're about to start working on Afghanistan, as that project has just started to resume. The latest official timeline projects that the entire system will be fully completed by the end of 2026 and become operational in early 2027. So you got about 1 year left to be on the ground floor of this investment opportunity. Now, the completion of this project is going to be a game changer. It provides a guaranteed customer for all that surplus power from Rogan, and it's turning electricity into a valuable export, a source of hard currency that's desperately needed to pay back the enormous loans used to build the dam. Now, this is the link that turns Rogan from a domestic project into a regional commercial enterprise. And with the electricity market secured, Tajikistan is now setting its sights on an even more ambitious and futuristic prize. So if the Rogan Dam is the engine and CASA 1000 is a highway, then green hydrogen is going to be the ultimate destination, because this is going to be the heart of green energy gold rush that a lot of countries are going to start getting into. The part of the plan that moves beyond simple electricity and into the cutting edge of the global energy transition is going to be this. When Tajikistan's massive hydropower potential could give it an almost unfair advantage in the race to produce the world's most sought after clean fuel, what do you think green hydrogen will do for the United States and all over the world? Simply put, they're going to put it in a bottle for renewable energy. A process called electrolysis used electricity to split water, H2O, into hydrogen and oxygen, the way Michael talked about at the beginning of the show. If that electricity comes from a renewable source like hydropower, that results in green hydrogen, a completely clean, zero emissions fuel, you're going to be seeing a whole lot more success from burning this off for a power source. Now, for decades, green hydrogen has been called the holy grail of clean energy. and it can power heavy trucks, cargo ships, and even airplanes, as Dylan talked about earlier on the show. It can generate the intense heat needed to make steel and cement, and it can be turned into green ammonia to make carbon free fertilizers. So it's the key to clean up the parts of our economy that batteries can't clean up. Now, the problem has always been the cost of this, because making green hydrogen takes huge amounts of electricity. And if that electricity is expensive, the hydrogen is too. And this is where Tajikistan's master plan clicks into place, because the country's biggest problem is a massive summer power surplus that is about to become its greatest economic opportunity. Now, the Rogan Dam will create a mid-line, mind-boggling amount of extra electricity in the summer, with the reservoir full and rivers raging. And Tajikistan will be producing far more power than it can use or ever even export through CASA's 1000. And this electricity, which would otherwise go to waste, would be incredibly cheap. And that cheap, clean electricity is the magic ingredient for producing globally competitive green hydrogen. Now, the government has seized on this particular development project, and they're developing a national hydrogen strategy with staggering ambitions. The official plan calls for producing 500,000 tons of green hydrogen annually by 2030, and doubling that to a colossal 1 million tons by 2040, which means that you have yet a fifth opportunity to invest in green energy in Tajikistan in ways where you will still be making money off of this for years to come. Now, this isn't just for export, because the plan is to use the green hydrogen to modernize its own industries. A prime target is the state-owned aluminum company, Talco, a massive energy guzzler. By swapping fossil fuels for green hydrogen, they can produce green aluminum, a premium. And this is going to be a low carbon product that will be highly sought after in international markets. Another goal is to produce green ammonia for fertilizers, creating another high value product for the region. Even with this local demand, the government expects up to 75% of its green hydrogen that will be exported to other countries. Institutions are already being built, with the Academy of Science establishing a dedicated century for hydrogen. And this is the ultimate play. So it's a strategy to turn water into electricity, and then turn that electricity into green gold for the 21st century. Now, this grand vision is no longer just a dream on the blueprint. It's starting to attract serious money, sophisticated investors, and from state-backed development banks to private corporations are placing their bets, right? Now, the question is going to be no longer if there's an opportunity, but how do we get into it? Now, the numbers tell the story, and the story is very compelling. At a recent Dushanbe International Investment Forum, a flurry of deals were signed worth a reported $3 to $4 billion, with the vast majority of that, over $2 billion of it, earmarked for energy projects. It's a clear signal of where global capital sees the most potential. Now, while China and Russia remain major players, investors from the Middle East and Europe are also showing increased interest, diversifying the country's financial partnerships. So on paper, Tajiki law is quite accommodating, permitting full or partial foreign ownership of companies and joint ventures. The legal framework includes protections for investors, like the right to repatriate profits, creating a pathway for capital to flow in and out of the country. The opportunities fall into a few key areas. The most obvious is going to be that energy sector, and this is where the big money is going to be flowing. Financing the Rogan Dam is very massive, multi-billion-dollar enterprise drawing in major players like the AIIB. But it's not just about the hydro. Recognizing the need to diversify, especially for the winter, Tajikistan has signed deals for over 2 gigawatts of solar capacity with international firms, which is a sixth opportunity that you can put your money into. And beyond energy, the mining sector is another front. That's a seventh opportunity to get into, where Tajikistan is rich in minerals like gold, silver, and antimony. Crucially, it also has deposits of critical minerals that are essential for the green economy. From batteries to wind turbines, as the world scrambles to secure new supply chains, Tajikistan underexplores geology is going to become increasingly strategic. We're going to have to figure out how to get in there and get our money to make money for us. However, the most interesting plays might be niche opportunities. With the government pushing tourism, there's a growing space for eco-lodges here as well, and adventure travelers that have a brand in pristine uh, Pamira Mountains. The agriculture here is going to be a key sector for the economy as well. Foreign-led ventures in high-altitude organic crops or food processing could capitalize on low labor costs and abundant water. And finally, there's going to be an impact-aligned investments in areas like digitalization and education, which often sync up with the prioritized uh, needs of international development funds. Now, this is going to be the landmark of the gold rush, from multi-billion-dollar infrastructure contracts to nimble high-impact ventures. Investors are starting to stake their claims long before you guys found out about this today. Now, of course, a multi-billion-dollar gold rush in one of the world's most complex regions is never a sure thing. And forever glittering promise, there's always a shadow of immense risk. We recognize that Tajikistan's grand strategy isn't just ambitious, it is a high wire act without a safety net, where one misstep could lead to economic ruin. The most explosive risk is the geopolitical time bomb of water politics. Offset, we didn't even think about what happens if the volcano erupts again. The rivers that start in Tajikistan are lifeblood of Central Asia, flowing downstream under Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. And for these arid agricultural economies, that water is a matter of natural security. So the Rogan Dam, designed to hold back a colossal amount of it, is viewed with deep suspicion. And for years, Uzbekistan bitterly opposed the project, fearing it would threaten the water needed for its massive cotton industry. Got to figure out how to get through that as well. While diplomacy has improved recently, with leaders signing new cooperation agreements, the underlying tension has never gone away. So President Rahman has repeatedly stated that Tajikistan will never leave our neighbors without water, but the country has also fiercely guarded its control over the river's flow. The central question remains unanswered. Will Rogan be managed as a tool of regional cooperation or as a weapon of national leverage? Because once they finish building it, if you don't cooperate, you don't get water. And you'll die faster without water than you'll die without food. But the answer to that question would definitely be defined with stability of Central Asia as the centuries continue to roll out with this particular project. Now, the second great risk is going to be the debt traps, because building a $4.6 billion dam would strain much wealthier nations. For Tajikistan, it's a monumental liability. Now, the country is taking on billions in international loans, and the credit rating agency Standard and Poor's has pointed out how expensive the project is, noting the high cost could strain the nation's budget. And if the project faces more delays, if the price of electricity is lowered, uh, or the profits from it is lower than hope, or if instability disrupts the CAAS 1000 power lines, Tajikistan could find itself buried under a mountain of debt that it can't repay, potentially losing control of its most strategic assets. Finally, there are the ground risks of doing business. While laws exist to protect investors, enforcement can be inconsistent. Bureaucracy and the risk of a corruption are significant hurdles. Um, this is a high risk, high reward environment. So it fits only for those with a long term vision and the strong stomach for the complexities of a true frontier market. This is no simple investment, it's the bet on a nation's ability to pull off a flawless multi decade strategy against the colossal forces of geology, finance, and geopolitics. Now, we started with a paradox because we had a nation of immense natural wealth, but profound economic poverty. The solution Tajikistan is pursuing is a paradox itself. It's building the world's tallest dam to escape winter darkness, a project that creates a tidal wave of summer power. And it's using that surplus to build a $1 billion energy highway to its southern neighbors. And it's channeling that same power into uh, a process of making green hydrogen. And this is going to be a level of alchemy that not a lot of us pay attention to. And they're going to be betting it all on turning water into fuel for the future. Now, this is a national strategy forged from desperation and ambition. If it works, Tajikistan wouldn't just lift its people from poverty, it will become a pivotal player in the global energy transition, a green powerhouse in the heart of Asia. And it could even be a blueprint for other developing nations to flow. But the risks are just as colossal as the dam itself. A debt crisis looms, and the specter of the regional water war hangs over the entire project. Now, the line between a green energy miracle and a cautionary tale is a razor thin line. Tajikistan is walking the line right now, and the world is starting to watch it. So, what do you guys think? Is this the blueprint for a new green economy, or are the risks just too great? You got to let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the mega projects shaping our world, make sure that you guys subscribe and make sure that you hit those notification bells, because we are live every night of the week, and we definitely spend a couple of hours covering a lot of the topics related to how you guys can make, save, and invest money all over the world, including the United States, and find ways to um, change your dynamics on how you get in there. He said, interesting idea, but I like mega projects. Well, it is a mega project. It's a huge mega project. You're talking about, like I said, $6.4 billion. And there are different areas that you can invest in. You can either invest in the building of a dam, you can invest in the power lines that's going to transfer the electricity all over the place. You can invest in them bottling up the hydrogen and then shipping it off to other countries. So there's different areas. You can invest in education to help the people with the knowledge to utilize this stuff. You can invest in businesses that are going to be managing this stuff, so that there's a lot of places that you can invest in this. And the concern about mega projects is that with mega projects, it is going to be for the few. The dam is going to be for the many, and the reason why the dam is going to be for the many is because they encouraged every single member of society to invest in shares in the dam, which means that the average foreign investor that is allowed to buy shares can buy shares in a dam. But other bigger projects where you see $2 and $3 million investments, $1 billion investment, this, that, and the third, individuals are putting up a minimum few $100,000 in some of those deals, where the average person who only got $5,000 to kick out might not be able to get into that big dog deal. But you could get into some of the micro deals where they're like, hey, and anybody with an income, invest in this, right? You can get in over there. And anything that is a reoccurring, ongoing project that's going to be, you're talking about 20 more years worth of performance. If you were to get into it now before money starts being produced, when profits start being produced, you're going to be getting money for the next 40 years. That's going to be a residual income. After you invest in it, after it becomes a thing, you're going to get paid off of it. A lot of the times when we think about how we're going to retire, the first thing we have to put into our mindset is, what are we going to do to not have to work? Because retirement isn't just about quitting your job. A retirement is not having the need to go back to work to make more money at any point in time in the future. Because if you stop working this year and you have to go back to work at the end of next year, that was just a really long vacation. When you retire, you are no longer working for the remainder of your life. That is a retirement. You are just getting paid to live. And that's when you're able to live good. Because now that you don't have to spend 8 to 10 hours a day either getting to and from work or being at work, you can now spend that 8 to 10 hours a day enjoying life and building families and everything to that effect. So that was all that I had for, that's a very small country. And one thing I wanted to throw in there real quick before we wrap things up, because this country is actually a pretty small country and it's very, very cheap over here. We're talking about $250 to $500 a month for the standard of living in this country. Is very cheap. And when you think about, our car insurance in America costs more than the standard of living in this country. You making 30, 50,000 a year could go to this country and live like a millionaire. Just saying. If you're a digital nomad and you're getting paid off your computer and they've got internet, you'd have to go over there and build your own solar system to power your house. but if you've got internet, you can rock the house and you wouldn't have to worry about it. Your money would be making money for you. And then the standard of living there is so affordable, to the fact that the taxes that you pay to live in America would be the standard living in that country. So the other hundreds of thousands of dollars a year that you'll be making, you wouldn't have to spend on anything other than investing. Returns on your investment and enjoying standard living. And certain countries, like I said, still give you the opportunity with a work visa or a digital nomad visa, where your foreign income pays for your standard of living there. They will give you visas and citizenship and residency in those countries, where you can have dual passport in different countries. Either way, you got to look into it. You got to see if that's something that's right for you. If it is, go get it. If it's not, wait for the next one. There's always another financial opportunity. The ones that you have are not the only ones that exist, and the ones that you find might not always be the one for you. So you got to go and look and see which ones work out for you. Now, as we leave, the first thing we're going to say is, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you guys this information as higher value men to help you guys behave better. You see, you want to start a retirement home for U.S. citizens in the Philippines. That would be expat living. You can do that. That's actually pretty decent. Now, in the Philippines, before we wrap things up, in the Philippines, you cannot own the property, even if you started a LLC or a real estate development company, C corporation or whatever. You would only be able to have about 40% ownership of the company, roughly. So you'd probably have to marry a Filipino woman or really have a really good relationship with one and go into business, and she lets you do what you got to do to make things successful, but she technically has primary control over the business. You cannot own land from the Philippines, but if you own land from the Philippines, oh yeah, that's fucking fine. That's fine, because they're not going to be combative. So if you're making her money, she ain't complaining about that. So you cannot own, as an American citizen, Filipino land, but you can lease it. So if you started a long-term opportunity out there, you could build properties, $250,000 at a time, and turn it into a unit facility for the elderly, and that would aid in um, foreign investors for that type of development, but you would also aid in the retirement opportunities, which will bring more revenue in for their country. Now, keep in mind, if you work it strategically, you could probably fall into an economic zone, and that will give them the incitement, not the incitement, the incentive to provide you with some revenue for at-risk individuals, including retired expats, so that they can come there, they can live there, and spend more money there, and they would have more money into their country. So that would be a decent way to go. And since the employees in the Philippines are cheaper than the employees in America, it would be more easily manageable, because one of the most expensive things about retirement homes in the United States is the overhead, the cost of the workers. Is as long as I can own a compound like 5 acres, 5 acres, that's a lot of land. Because if you're doing one facility across 5 acres, that's a lot of land. That's a big ass facility. But if you're doing like a 2 acres at a time, and you'd have two big facilities and one small facility, yeah, that's a multi-million-dollar operation there. Few hundred people, if not a few hundred thousand, depending on how big the space is for the rooms and stuff. I want a bamboo helicopter. Now you're dealing with wishful thinking, because first of all, that's not gonna hold nobody. And like Icarus, you gonna fly up and somebody gonna set fire to that shit. A hard wind will make that something fall apart. You're gonna get more money off the stock option than you get off the Mega Millions. Shoot, most folks, it's a gamble, and a lot of people like to gamble, and most folks wishful think and put their money towards it and hardly ever win. And that is one of those personal life choices that when you think about how much you spend on lottery tickets, scratch offs, quick picks, everything to that effect, when you don't win, versus how much money you would be getting off of a guaranteed investment opportunity, you might rethink your position. You might say, you know what, instead of me taking a gamble on a 1 in 1 million opportunity, I could just put my money in. Okay, $1 a week, 52 weeks a year, so that is $52 a year. At $3 a share for some of the cheapest stocks that we talk about. You've got what, 16 shares, roughly, give or take, 14 shares at 5 cents a share payout for 14 shares per month. You'd be getting what, 50, 60, 70 cents a share, 70 cents a month. So the difference between throwing away $50 a year, you would keep the principal, and you'd be making roughly 70 cents a month for the year, and be getting a return of what, $7, $8, probably $9 a month return off of that $52 investment. Not a lot, but the difference between throwing away $52 a year and gaining a profit of $10, $12 a year, I would prefer to get that $10 a year profit. Now, if you were taking that dollar off of your dividends paid back off your stock investment, and you threw that away, you threw away $52 out of the $52 a year that you get from your stock portfolio. I mean, it wouldn't be that big of a loss, but because you can claim your lottery investments as losses, but you'd also have to claim your lottery investments for a gain as well. But then you'd end up getting a prize tax on anything that you claim coming from the lottery, which is pretty sucky. This will take the 60 and buy lotto tickets for one chance. 60 in 1 million is better than 1 in 1 million. I mean, yeah, you can waste more money. You can waste more money. You could put down $60 and buy 60 lottery tickets and then roll the dice and see what happens. But And the odds of you getting it might increase, but the odds of you just throwing away $60 instead of investing it and getting instead of investing it and getting more money back, guaranteed money on your investment, it's the personal choice of some. Some people prefer to hope for that one-time hit it big scenario, and that wishful thinking is why the lottery makes so much money off of people, because those people who win don't get all of what they won, but they pay taxes on everything that was declared in the prize. So even though you might win $1 million, you're only going to get $500,000, but you're going to get taxed on $1 million, which means you're going to give up $250,000, and out of the 500,000, so you're only going to have 250,000, which is enough to buy a very cheap house cash up front. So out of your $1 million earnings, you might have the deed to your house. And some people say, fuck it, that's fine because I'm renting from a landlord that don't fix shit. But the fact of the matter is that if you're broke after becoming a millionaire, even though you own your own house, you still got to take your ass back to work. And a lot of people make the worst decision ever is win the lottery, start giving money to friends and family, and quit their jobs and think that they're going to be all right. And 2 years after they win the lottery, they're bankrupt. So if you put a plan in motion to cover yourself for if you win the lottery, if you're going to budget that into your discretionary spending for entertainment, if you win the lottery, the first thing you do is take 100% of whatever you get and throw that into the stock market on 100% dividend paying stocks, whether it's a 20%er or a 15%er or whatever the case may be, and live off of the dividends that you get, where your 500,000 or your million or whatever is always going to be there. And then whatever lifestyle that you can have off of those profits, that's what you have. If you're making the same amount of money or more than what you make off of your daily job, that would be more profitable for you and more beneficial for you than buying cash up front, wasting the principal on anything. You see what I'm saying? I wouldn't do that. It's interesting. I never knew that about losses. Yeah, losses are tax deductible, and so are gains. So when you start claiming your losses, you got to also claim your gains. And but if you claim your losses, all the losses that you have on the lottery, you can get you some deductions. I don't know how many. I would spend $10 million on all gold tanks. So you're trying to be like MC Hammer. You're gonna have a bunch of gold sinks, gold toilets, gold pipelines, gold car, gold shoes, gold Trump hat, gold manga shirt. If I had $10 million won for any reason, I would put that, like I said, into a high. Because think about trying to be like Blade, but I could still do that. But the funny thing is that if you was to take the $10 million principal and do that, you would be broke. But if you take that $10 million principal and invest it in something that's giving you 20%, 20% of $10 million would be $2 million a year payout. Now you can spend $500,000 a year being Blade, being Peter Griffin, being Smeagol from Lord of the Rings, be hiring Harley Quinn, hiring Mystique, hiring Star. You could have your whole Hugh Hefner thing going on if you put $10 million into a stock option and offer the $2 million a year you get paid, you only spend $500,000. You could waste $1.5 million a year and still have that $10 million guaranteed principal there. Travel the world, be in a different country every week. But if you spend the $10 million, it's gone. That's the difference between a millionaire mindset and broke mentality. If you think about when I get big, I'm gonna spend it all. You are not preparing to be rich. And those with a religious belief that the Lord prepares them for their success, you will never become a winner of the lottery until your mentality is going to change to how to benefit from the receipt of the money. Put it all in a bunch of different places where I will not be broke after this. It will continue to pay me money. 10 million, I would build condo in the Philippines. With $10 million, I would take the $2 million as dividends that is paid to me, and I would go and build condos in the Philippines. And if I build condos in the Philippines under a nonprofit, then I can donate it to the nonprofit, probably get government funds from the US to double down on it, and then I can build properties in the Philippines, get a dividend payout from that, and as one of the shareholders of the nonprofit, and then I don't have to worry about where my money's coming from. I'm still doing stuff with the profits. And really, if I had $10 million and I'm getting $2 million back and I'm building houses in the Philippines at $1.5 million a year, I still have a $500,000 a year lifestyle, but the principal is never going anywhere. The goal, once you get there to the top, is that you never fall. You must build your foundation. Your foundation is not owning assets. Your foundation is possessing revolving income that does not require effort so that you can own assets. Because technically, the rich own nothing and benefit from everything that their businesses own. So you don't have to own anything. You just have to have authority over it. It is what it is. That's something that not too many people think about. It's a fantastic job to build a bunch of buildings in the Philippines. You can go to Malena and tear down the entire homeless population and turn that into an overly developed subdivision and put everybody in there for cheap rent and give them a better standard of living. They might make you mayor, you know, but you got to do that off the profits, not out the principal, because a profit's guaranteed that the principal will give you that money again. If you spent $2 million out of the profit, and you're going to keep getting that $2 million every year, you have a reoccurring budget. If you spend the $10 million, it's gone. And if you're only going to get a $10 million payout once in a lifetime, once you lose it, that's it for the rest of your life. Now you're back to working for somebody else. So the goal is to set up a lifestyle where once more money comes in than you need to work for, you can stop working forever. That's the goal. That's true retirement. Never having to worry about where your bills is coming from. Never. He said, well, what city you living in? Tampa, Florida. Never having to worry about where your money's coming from. Never having to worry about how your bills are going to get paid. Never having to worry about having things. You want to be in a scenario where it's all good. Like you wake up everything and everything is already taken care of. Even if you got to pay a personal assistant to do it for you, that everything is taken care of. Is if you pick one city in the Philippines. If I picked one city in the Philippines, what city would I live in? I can't think of the name of the city right now, but it starts with a C. There was one specific city that I was thinking about going to for an extended vacation. And I was going to take the show too. And we're going to go out there. But that was going to be one of those minority-friendly cities of the Philippines where it'd be less difficult to be me out there. So, but there are quite a few cities that are developed expat-friendly cities. But if you really wanted to go somewhere and make a difference, you would go to the slums in the Philippines and build it up into the suburbs. You would go to the slums, build it up, put the residents in a better living situation, and then build a society around that where those people can profit from helping you make money. That would be the best thing to do. And then with each building that you build over there, you throw solar on top of it. They have solar initiatives out there as well, green energy initiatives out there as well. If you were to build things that are more because they're going to deal with tsunamis, and that's one of the reasons why their development is not as good of quality as what we would expect, especially when they live next to the shoreline. You would be building certain residential properties that would be hurricane proof or tsunami proof, flood proof, concrete buildings that would withstand high winds and heavy water pressure to the best of the ability of the resources in that country. And you would be building big properties to put everybody in, but then they would be renting the properties from you He said, great, smart idea, and let's do it. And then while they're renting the properties from you, you'd be paying them to get out there and build more properties. So you would spend less money on labor. You would make a lot more profit back on rental properties, and they would value you for building up their community, building up their society, which would allow you to have the support from the most dominant, less authoritative culture, the poor people. If you build up the poor people first, the poor people is the working class, the poor people will help you build up the rich. If you start from the top down, you have less people spending more money. But if you start from the bottom up, you have more people benefiting from your resources to get money from the government and still make money from the people. And then you can get the people in the middle on your way up to the top. Not too many people think about it like that. There are incentives in the United States right now that developing at-risk communities in other countries around the world, as long as you are a U.S. nonprofit. So you just have a U.S. bank account and fly to another country and build up the slums and get paid from the U.S. It's just, but people don't do that. They're more about themselves. They're selfish and they're greedy. And because they're selfish and greedy, he said, good idea. Maybe we can start with 1 acre. It is smart to start with 1 to 5 acres. You have to find a landowner. You have to get into a contract with them. You have to lock things down. Whether you lease the property with development rights for 100 years, or if you start up a business and then you go over there with the business, I would still lease the property because that just eliminates any red tape. Do a 100-year lease with a development opportunity, and then sell the building to them, because the building is subjugated from the land, almost like an HOA scenario. You'll be renting the land and you build the building on top of it. You can sell the land to them after you build the building and make money off of it, or you could turn it into a rental property and the money from the tenants pays for the land and you ain't got to worry about it. Either way it goes, it's the cost of doing business. So you don't necessarily have to own the land, you just have to have the rights to build on it. But all that stuff takes a lot of planning, and that type of planning is not readily done by the average individual that is looking for big money in common areas. You have to go to the unorthodox areas and start looking for unorthodox things, and that's how you start making yourself more successful. Now, since that's all I got for you guys for tonight, because I do got to get into, I got to start getting things ready for this contract that I got to do in about 45 minutes. So I want to thank you guys for tomorrow night. I've got the rest of the week up there except for Sunday, so you can hit the notification buttons on that and be ready for it. And I should be closer to the top of the hour tomorrow, since I've already got it up there. I just got to adjust the SEOs and throw up the script. So I'm going to be getting that stuff done between tonight and tomorrow morning. So I'm going to be closer. Besides making my coffee, I'm going to be almost on time. I should be about 5 minutes after the hour. So I'm going to see y'all tomorrow. Thank you guys for coming to this and that. I really appreciate you, Dylan and Michael, for y'all's positive comments on the show. Michael, your finger be itching and you don't use it. You should have blocked that dude after the 5th comment. Either way, I want to thank you guys for coming to tonight's show. Thank you for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'm going to see you guys tomorrow night.
That's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.